have a vanilla sundae with hot fudge. And, sprinkles. Rainbow, not chocolate. Mm-hmm. And, whipped cream. Cherries. And,
nuts?
She wore her husband's name across her chest in her own blood. She told a magazine, on the record, that she would have married a woman if she hadn't already married a man. She won an Oscar, kissed her brother on the mouth at the after party, and made front pages for every wrong reason imaginable. At 24, she checked into a psychiatric ward because she couldn't find her boyfriend. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, she made 2 films that an entire generation of women secretly credit with rearranging the insides of their lives. We're talking, of course, about Angelina Jolie in her wildest, rawest, most spectacularly unmanaged era, before the humanitarianism, before the 6 children, before the careful remake of a self. We're talking about her roles in Gia and Girl Interrupted. If you only have 30 seconds, here's the bottom line of this video. Angelina Jolie didn't audition for fame, she bled for it. She refused to be well-behaved, to be pretty, to separate her private chaos from her public work. She played 2 women the world had already decided were too much. One a dying supermodel, one an institutionalized sociopath. And she made too much look like the only honest way to be alive in a female body. But stick with me, because the long version is so much more than that. Welcome. I'm Kira, and this is your beauty blueprint. Today, the beauty blueprint of Angelina Jolie. I've spent a whole week researching, watching, editing, and re-editing all things Angelina to bring you her very essence and share the best of my findings. Well, 2 films, 2 performances. One 20-something woman detonated her own life in slow motion for the camera. By the way, I designed a little something just for us. It's a t-shirt inspired by this Jolie era, smudged liner, shearling coat energy, all sexy and tastefully done. Link, as always, is in the description if you'd like one. And stick around, because by the end of this video, I'll serve us a quick breakdown of what secrets we, very, very practically speaking, can steal from Angelina Jolie's world for our own self-presentation. But pour yourself something first. A dirty vodka martini, straight up, 3 olives. Ordered the way a 1998 woman in a leather jacket would order it at a New York hotel bar at 11 at night, and perhaps an ice cream with cherries and whipped cream, if you know what I mean. Then let's start with who Angelina Jolie actually was, and how she came to be the face of cool girl cinema for so many years. Here's a tiny backstory. She was born Angelina Jolie Voight in Los Angeles in 1975, the daughter of the actor Jon Voight and the French-Canadian actress Marcheline Bertrand. Her parents separated even before her first birthday. Her father, famous, handsome, absent, would remain the most complicated person in her life. Her mother, her lifelong ally, would remain the most uncomplicated. By her early teens, she was, in her own words, a bit of a dirty punk. She tried modeling at 14 and just hated it. They put me in a room in a bathing suit and measured every part of me. I felt terrible, she later told a journalist. She was not okay. She expressed it in ways I'm not even allowed to mention here on this platform, unfortunately. I wish we could have that conversation. Well, this is not a childhood we are supposed to romanticize, and I'm not going to. I'm only telling you all this because you cannot understand the films she made at 22 and 24 without understanding that when you watched her play a woman at the edge, she was not at all pretending. In 1995, at 20, she made a little film called Hackers, opposite a lean, pale, extraordinarily English actor named Jonny Lee Miller, and of course they fell in love. In March next year, she married him, in black rubber pants and a plain white t-shirt with his name written across the back in her own blood. It's your husband, you're about to marry him. You can sacrifice a little to make it really special, she told the New York Times, entirely unbothered. She was just 20 years old. Let that sit for a second. And shortly after, on the set of a film called Foxfire, she fell in love again, this time with a Japanese-American model and mechanic named Jenny Shimizu. I fell in love with her the first second I saw her, Jolie told Girlfriends magazine in 1997. I probably would have married Jenny Shimizu if I hadn't married my husband. Nobody in Hollywood said things like that in 1997. Ellen DeGeneres had come out 1 year earlier and was watching her sitcom get quietly euthanized for it. Angelina Jolie simply shrugged, smiled for the camera, and let the tabloids call her whatever they wanted. And then, at the end of January 1998, came Gia. Gia was the first American supermodel. Born in Philadelphia in 1960, she covered Vogue and Cosmo, walked for Armani, Dior, Versace, and Yves Saint Laurent, and was dead of AIDS by 26. She was openly gay in an era when you were not openly anything. HBO wanted to make a film about her. They wanted Angelina Jolie, but Jolie said no. "I didn't trust that they would deal with drugs and AIDS in the right way," she told The Times. "I was worried that they were going to make it another pretty story." Her manager had to threaten to drop her as a client before she agreed. She was 22, as I said. I mean, I remember myself at that age. It's pretty goddamn young. Well, here's what she did with the role. She called her husband from set and refused to really speak to him. "I'd tell him," she said later, "I'm alone, I'm dying, I'm gay, I'm not going to see you for weeks." She shot a scene based on a real 1978 photograph in which the real Gia Carangi had posed naked behind a chain-link fence with her real makeup artist, Sandy Linter. In the film, Jolie strips completely. The photographer calls the makeup artist in. The makeup artist reluctantly undresses, and on opposite sides of the fence, the two women kiss. It is not a subtle scene, nor was it meant to be one. One lesbian magazine ran an entire personal essay titled, I am quoting directly, "That time Angelina Jolie turned me into a lesbian" in the movie Gia. A whole generation of women found out who they were, at least partly, in their parents' living rooms, on a weeknight, watching HBO. Variety called her performance a multifaceted revelation, shifting from coquettish to nasty to violent to contrite with a breathtaking believability. She won the Golden Globe. She won the SAG. She was nominated for an Emmy. At the 1999 Golden Globes, she jumped into the Beverly Hilton pool in her sparkling Randolph Duke gown afterward, because of course she did.
Do you think you should get in the pool? Come on, get in the pool.
You're gonna pull me in the pool.
And then she almost quit acting. Hang on one second. I want to know, in the comments, how many of you discovered Gia at 17 or so, on a bootleg DVD, and never quite recovered? Let's exchange stories. And if you're new here, please subscribe. It will only take you a second, and there's sure a lot more of this kind of thing coming. Alright, back to Jolie almost quitting. I was ambivalent about acting after it because I felt like I'd exposed so much, she told ABC News. She gave up acting entirely for a short window and moved to New York, where she took night classes at NYU to study directing and screenwriting. She had looked at herself on a screen in full, and she genuinely wasn't sure there was anything left to give. What brought her back was a director named James Mangold and a sociopath named Lisa Rowe. Girl Interrupted was supposed to be Winona Ryder's film. Winona Ryder had optioned Susanna Kaysen's memoir in 1993 and spent 5 whole years fighting to get it made. She was the producer, she was the star, she was Hollywood's darling, and she was making her passion project. And James Mangold, who had seen Gia, kept telling everyone that the supporting role of Lisa was going to a relatively unknown named Angelina Jolie. Just so you know who she beat out for that part. Courtney Love, Alanis Morissette, Parker Posey, Reese Witherspoon, Christina Ricci, Katie Holmes, and Claire Danes. James Mangold watched Jolie's audition tape. She had read every single scene, first page to last, and said, and I quote, "There was no resistance to casting her whatsoever. She was that good." Filming began in January of 1999 at a real abandoned psychiatric hospital in Pennsylvania. Jolie refused to speak to Winona Ryder off camera. If she saw anything human about Winona, she reasoned, entirely seriously, she would not have been able to act out the sociopath character as effectively. Angelina spent a whole week in real solitary confinement to prepare. Learning how these institutions treated people in the 60s was horrifying, she said. Then, on set, a division formed. Elizabeth Moss, who was 15 at the time, playing a patient named Polly, later described it on a podcast with startling clarity. There was the Winona Ryder camp and the Angelina Jolie camp. I was in the Winona Ryder camp. The Angelina Jolie camp was really cool. I was intimidated by the Angelina Jolie camp. I had no thoughts of ever being able to be in that camp. The producer Doug Wick confirmed it. More diplomatically, they were really serious about their work, and they were hunkered down into their characters. And then James Mangold put it most poetically of all. Part of her own process in the role was building a power and a mystique. Now, here's the thing I want you to sit with for a second. What Jolie understood about Lisa Rowe is that Lisa wasn't actually crazy. She was just incredibly honest, which I guess made her seem crazy, Jolie said. This is the sentence that cracks the whole performance open. Lisa Rowe is the patient who refuses to pretend to get better. She refuses the pill. She refuses the therapy. She refuses to learn the language of feminine politeness that 60s America required of young women in order to be allowed back outside. And for this, she is locked up for 8 years. I made her a composite back history, Jolie told a Golden Globes interviewer. I didn't really make one up. Somehow it ended up being me. They were pieces of my life that made me really want to reach out to people, to feel alive and free. It was my own persona. I didn't define her. I couldn't play her thinking I had a mental illness. She was not playing a sociopath. She was playing a woman who refused the deal. And the reason half of you watching this video have a screenshot of Lisa Rowe saved on your computer is because, at some point, you have also considered refusing the deal. Roger Ebert called Jolie one of the great wild spirits of current movies, a loose cannon who somehow has deadly aim. By the way, remember that advice Marilyn Monroe gave to Liza Minnelli? Always be a moving target. I mentioned that and more in my video on Liza on my new channel. Make sure to subscribe. It's called Old Hollywood Blueprint. And there I also recreate the iconic looks on myself, by the way. And Angelina, she won the Golden Globe, the SAG, the Critics' Choice, and at the Shrine Auditorium on March 26, 2000, in a long-sleeved, column-cut, jet-black Mark Brewer gown, succubus chic, as Grazia called it later.
The nominees for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role in a Motion Picture are Cameron Diaz, being John Malkovich,
Angelina Jolie, Girl Interrupted,
Natalie Portman, Anywhere But Here,
Chloe Sevigny, Boys Don't Cry.
And the winner is Angelina Jolie, Girl Interrupted.
I had to bring my brother. I've always wanted him to he had to see the view from up here. It's kind of amazing.
This Academy Award.
I know. I'm going to wake up in the morning and go, somebody was playing a joke on me.
And then she said she was in love with her brother.
God, I'm surprised nobody's ever fainted up here. Oh, I'm in shock. And I'm so in love with my brother right now.
At the Vanity Fair after party, she leaned over and kissed him on the mouth. The next morning, that kiss was on every front page in the world. What the world didn't know was that the two of them had spent the entire day before the ceremony at the hospital with their mother, who was dying of cancer, or that a couple of weeks before that, Angelina Jolie had been placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold at UCLA because she'd had what she called a nervous breakdown trying to find her boyfriend. Which brings us, very inconveniently, to Laura Dern. You should know that Billy Bob Thornton, the boyfriend in question, was at the time Jolie met him on the set of Pushing Tin in 1998, engaged to Laura Dern. Well, I mentioned it briefly in my Laura Dern video, which you better not miss. You should also know, and I promise this is real, that when Angelina Jolie was roughly 2 years old, Laura Dern, who is 7 years older, babysat her. Their fathers were friends. They had co-starred in Coming Home in 1978. I mean, it's almost too on the nose to be real-world reality. In September of 2000, Laura Dern finally broke her silence in Talk magazine with one of the most devastating sentences ever spoken about a breakup. "I left our home to work on a movie," she said. "And while I was away, my boyfriend got married, and I've never heard from him again." Beauty Blueprint on Laura Dern is linked in the description, of course. She has her own completely different kind of blueprint, wild at heart in its very own way. And I think these two women make for an incredibly interesting mirror of opposites. On May 5th, year 2000, Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton walked into the Little Church of the West in Las Vegas. She was in faded blue jeans, a grey lilac tank top, brown boots, and a ponytail. He was in a hat. They wore small glass lockets around their necks with a single drop of each other's blood inside. Lockets, the kind of thing people used to keep a photograph in, except with something more substantial inside this time. She thought it would be interesting and romantic, Billy Bob Thornton shrugged in an interview years later, if we took a little razor blade and sliced our fingers. To me, it reminds me a little of the process of Eucharist in Christianity. We drink the blood of Jesus to symbolize our union with him, his sacrifice, and divine life. Well, anyway, by the time the press was done with all this, Angelina Jolie was a vampire, a devil doll, a drug addict, a succubus, a woman wearing a bucket of blood around her neck. Some of those things were exaggerated. Some of them, honestly, were not. And she didn't, this is the part I find most astonishing, employ a publicist during any of it. None. She was just out there, being Angelina Jolie, on the record, all the time. So who was she, really, inside those two films? The critic Camille Paglia, never a woman accused of underselling a compliment, once wrote that few celebrities these days, aside from the smoldering Angelina Jolie, seem to have complex psychic lives. In Salon, Paglia went further. For me, Jolie's greatest performance was in Gia, she said. She had the sensuality and animal energy of Ava Gardner, which virtually no one has been able to duplicate. Ava Gardner? Hold on to this comparison, because it tells us everything. Ava Gardner was the mid-century American woman who could not be contained. Too beautiful, too hungry, too honest about her appetites. Married 3 times to men, she visibly outsized in every direction. What Paglia sees in Jolie circa 1998 is the same thing. A Dionysian woman, a woman whose body and face were not decorative, but monumental. Not there to attract a male gaze, but there to generate tornadoes. In Gia, she plays a woman whose beauty is so extravagant that it can only be spent, never saved. In Girl Interrupted, she plays a woman whose refusal to be tamed has been pathologized, and she plays her as someone who knows that the diagnosis itself is a kind of flirtation. These are not at all performances about being a victim. These are performances about being the goddamn storm. Here's what I think Angelina Jolie in that time actually represents, and yes, I am dramatic about it. She represents the last time a young woman in American cinema got to be publicly, on the record, completely uncensored in her own desire. She didn't apologize for her bisexuality. She didn't apologize for her appetites. She didn't apologize for liking knives or liking blood or liking sex or liking her brother in a way that confused strangers but didn't confuse her. She is the missing link between Ava Gardner and whatever it is we're doing now, which mostly isn't this. And this is why a 20-something-year-old woman in 2026 who has never lived through any of that still recognizes Lisa Rowe the instant she hears her speak. It is not because we all secretly want to be institutionalized. It is because we all remember the exact moment somebody tried to diagnose us out of being honest. Okay, quick breather, because I have to. If you're enjoying this, consider becoming a channel member. Members get my long-form Beauty Blueprint podcast episodes and help make this channel survive. I do all this alone, and any kind of support means the world to me, so thank you. Genuinely, from the bottom of my martini glass, you are the reason this channel exists. And if you want to physically wear a little of this era on your body, the Jolie-inspired tee is live in the store. Among many others we gathered by now. It has the attitude, and it looks incredible under a shearling coat. Okay, the beauty breakdown, as I promised. First, let me tell you the name of the makeup artist who made both of these looks, because she deserves to be said out loud, Janine Schreier. She did Angelina Jolie's makeup, both on Gia and Girl Interrupted. She is the person Jolie thanks by name in her Oscar speech, although almost no one has ever noticed. The hairstylist was Emmanuel Millar, and he also did both films. The Gia look, especially in the early scenes of the film, is a masterclass in apparent effortlessness. Long, dark, slightly unwashed hair parted down the middle. Skin left alone. No contouring, no sculpting, no strobing. Just the face she was born with, and a tiny smudge of something on the lash line. Eyes rimmed in a warm sable, never black. Lips worn as they are, with the occasional deep bruised berry for a runway scene. Brows full, slightly feral, never tweezed into obedience. This is not no makeup. This is makeup that pretends to be no makeup, which, just so we're clear, is always the harder kind. The Lisa Rowe look from Girl Interrupted is the opposite, yet in the exact same philosophy. Dark, smudged raccoon liner, deliberately uneven, heavy under-eye shadowing that shows as exhaustion, not glamour. Messy dirt blonde hair with uneven, self-cut bangs. A pallid, neglected complexion that says, quite clearly, I sleep here. And then, thrown over all of it, the most copied coat in history, a brown, camel-lined, shaggy faux fur shearling that you may remember borrowing from somebody's older sister at 17 and never giving back. Angelina Jolie's own personal beauty philosophy, which she has stated in roughly the same words for 25 years, is one sentence long, and I want you to write it down right now. I do either dark eyes or red lips. She has said it to InStyle, she has said it to Vogue, she has said it about herself. I have very full, big features, she told InStyle. So if I did everything, I'd look a bit like a clown. This is the entire Jolie blueprint in 15 words, and it is perhaps the most practical piece of beauty advice this week. Pick one thing, commit to it. Stop decorating every surface at the same time. The features you already have are more than enough. If you want to recreate the Lisa Rowe look for a party or for a Tuesday, Here is the shortest possible recipe. Smudge a soft black or dark brown pencil along the upper and lower lash line with your fingertip until it looks kinda slept in. Do nothing to your skin except a little cream blush and a film of balm on a bare lip. Put your hair up in a messy claw clip and pull pieces down. Wear the longest, oldest, most slightly too large coat you own. Do not even try to look pretty. This is the secret. Lisa Rowe does not try to look pretty, and that is precisely why you can't stop looking at her. If you want the Gia look, make it even simpler. Leave your skin alone, like the French. A warm brown on the lash line, a soft rose on the lip, hair down and unstyled. Stare at the camera like you already know the answer to whatever it's about to ask you. For the record, the real Angelina Jolie, off-camera, has had the same dermatologist, Dr. Rhonda Rand, since she was 11 years old. Her entire skincare routine, as of now, is a cleanser, a sunscreen, an antioxidant, and a moisturizer. And according to Dr. Rand, almost never any makeup on her days off. That is it. That is the whole thing. This is the other, subtler half of the blueprint. The private face is protected so carefully that the public face can afford to be as dramatic as it wants. I'll leave you with this. Angelina Jolie at the end of the 20th century was not a role model. She was certainly not trying to be one. She lied to her husband on the phone from a hotel room. She broke up another woman's engagement and never looked back. She kissed her brother at a Hollywood party. She wrote "To the end of time" in her own blood. Above a bed she would leave inside of 3 years. By almost any conventional metric, she was a disaster. And yet, and this is the thing I cannot stop turning over in my head, the 2 films she made in the middle of all that disaster are still, 26 years later, the 2 films young women share with each other when they're trying to explain who they are. Not the humanitarian work, not the Oscar speeches, not the clean, careful post-2005 self. No, these 2. The too much ones. I think that is because in Gia and in Lisa Rowe, she wasn't really playing characters. She was refusing to lie about being truly painfully alive. And for us, a generation of women who had been told, by magazines, by boyfriends, by our own anxious mothers, that being ourselves was embarrassing. The sight of her refusing was a kind of sign from above. You didn't have to do any of what she did. You didn't have to wear the blood shirt or marry Billy Bob Thornton in Vegas in your jeans. You only had to notice that somewhere inside you, there had always been a Lisa Rowe. You only had to stop hiding it from yourself. That, my loves, is the beauty blueprint of Angelina Jolie at the turn of the millennium. Thank you for spending this one with me. I've queued up the next chapter for you here. I'll see you soon. Love, Kira. Now go create your own blueprint.